Hello and welcome to another round of candidate interviews. And today we are going to interview candidates from Ward Metis. Welcome to our show. I'm actually not able to see your name here. Abdul Hakim Dalal. Am I saying it right?
That's
Thank you.
correct.
And my other candidate's name, I'm not able to
It's
see.
Ashley Salvador.
Hi, Ashley. Welcome.
Hi.
So, I have been a journalist for more than 20 years, and I've been doing this for TE for a few years now. And I'm so excited to meet the new candidates who are here. So it's really nice to have you guys. And as we move into another term, there are so many things that are pressing in each ward, right? So I'm sure you are listening to people in your ward and you're hearing a lot of things. So, first of all, before we go into that, I would like both of you to introduce yourself about the work you've been doing and how you think you are the best candidate for award Metis. So I'm going to give the mic to Abdul Hakim.
Sure. So my name is Abdul Hakim Duran, Abdul Hakim Dalel. So I'm running for the next city council Métis. I have lived in this Métis for 17 years. I worked in the energy sector. I worked in security sector. I volunteer counter hours in our community. So I know our challenge, and I know that we have. I believe in our potential.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And moving to Ashley, who is the incumbent, I just wanted to kind of find out what your experience has been over the last term and what have you seen on the ground for this term.
Yeah, well, first off, really happy to be here this evening on Treaty 6 territory with everyone joining from Ward Métis or folks watching across Edmonton. And also just want to take a moment to thank you, Mary, as well as T and the team at Ladies Corner for putting this on. I understand you're doing it as volunteers, so that's a lot of work and really commendable to create this space for dialogue and discussion. So thank you. For folks who I haven't had the chance to meet, my name's Ashley Salvador, and I have the honor of currently representing Ward Métis. I first ran and was elected in 2021 and really focused on building a safe, affordable, and sustainable Edmonton for all of us. And those values have continued to this day and really have driven a lot of the work that I've done over my term on council. Ward Métis is also home for me, so I'm from Edmonton. I live in these communities with my family and really believe in the potential of our city. You know, I've always known that local government plays a really critical role in helping create the conditions for all of us to thrive. And I think that's reflective of some of the work that I've been doing on council related to affordable housing, public transit, and good city services so that we can all live a good life in our neighborhoods.
Thank you. So to Abdul Hakim, what do you think are the top three priorities for Ward Métis? If elected,
Sure.
how would you deliver on them?
So it's the first one's affordable housing. We have enough homeless people there, safer streets and safer transit and LRT for everybody. Those are my three priorities.
Thank you. And how do you plan to deliver on them? What do you think is your plan?
So affordable housing, like I said in 2021, the city of Edmonton is sitting in a gold mine, especially when it comes to Roxdale. So we have the land. So partnership with the government of Alberta and partnership with the government of Canada. As you know, the government of Canada is already helping the city, but Danielle Smith and her party is not helping the city. So it's time we have a new leadership so we can work together with the provincial and the federal government. So when it comes to safety, when it comes to safety on the street and crime prevention, I think I spoke to a couple of cops the other day. So they need more support from the city instead of them dealing with mental issue and dealing with other stuff that not police. You know what I mean? So I think working with them and giving the tools they need is another one to have a safer street. And then another problem we have is transit system. As you know, that we have over 500 assault and shooting happen, stabbing happen. So in order to calm that, we need to hire more peace officers. So the Edmonton police can really fight the crime that they're supposed to. So I think in order for us to get a better transit system NRT, then we need to hire more peace officers.
Thank you so much, Abdul Hakim, for that answer. Now, the next question goes to Ashley. What Métis is home to a very diverse population, like Indigenous, Métis immigrants, long established communities. How do you ensure that all of these voices are represented in your council decisions? What are you hearing on the ground?
Yeah, thanks so much for the question. And you're absolutely right. Ward Métis is an incredibly diverse set of neighborhoods, different demographics, communities from different backgrounds, all sort of tied together by the River Valley on both the north side of the ward and the south side. And what I'm hearing on the ground, of course, it's been a tough few years. Communities are struggling. We've been through a lot together, pandemic, economic instability, some of the provincial budget cuts that are hitting some of those communities really hard right now. And I think that's reflective of the challenges we've experienced on council this term. It's been a tough 4 years. And when I think about the pressing issues that are on people's minds, absolutely, housing and homelessness. There are 5,000 neighbors right now who do not have a safe place to call home, and they don't have the help and support they need. I'm hearing about community safety and well-being, and how safe people feel in some of our public spaces, our transit system, and that's a gap right now. I'm also hearing about affordability. So cost of living, we know, is hitting people across the board. I'm hearing from seniors who are on fixed incomes, young families who are just trying to get by, and they're feeling it at the grocery store, at the pump, utilities. And it's really critical that we keep those city services affordable, so that these are great communities to build a life, build a business, build a family. And then finally, given that Ward Métis is composed of mature communities that were built out in the 50s and 60s, we're seeing a lot of neighborhood change. So infill is actually quite a big topic of conversation that I'm hearing about across the ward. And to come back to your question about how to make sure that all those diverse voices are represented, of course we have, I'll say, more of the typical methods of engagement, but oftentimes those aren't accessible for some Edmontonians. So it's really important that as a city and as councillors, we go out into the community and meet people where they're at, whether that is a coffee shop or a neighborhood park. I reflect on how we've set up park hours where we'll just kind of pop up our tent, have a table out there, and hear directly from people so that we can reflect those concerns, ideas in the council chambers.
So have you been doing that over your term?
Yeah, and that's something that I've really enjoyed. I always say I'm a bit of a city nerd, so I love to spend lots of time reading long reports and digging into council meetings. But the flip side of that is I love being out in community. So like I said, we hold regular opportunities for people to engage. I use the example of park hours where we'll choose a well-trafficked area within the ward for people to come walk by, stop by when they're out with their families, and engage on city issues that matter to them.
And have you seen lots of engagement with that?
Yeah, it's been really wonderful to be able to reach people who might not typically engage with the civic processes that are in place. So we found it really rewarding, and I found it incredibly valuable to be able to hear directly from the people that I'm representing. And again, bring those voices to the council table. And I would also add, I mentioned it earlier, but sometimes the process to engage with council isn't as accessible. A public hearing, for example, someone might have to take time off work and put aside a whole day just to engage in this process. So that has real equity implications and concerns. So again, meeting people where they're at, being accessible yourself as an elected official is deeply important. And that's why I also take time to go knock on doors and really meet people where they're at to be able to properly represent them.
Thank you.
Would I be able to respond to Ashley or?
Sorry, do you want to add to that?
Absolutely. I mean, actually, she single-handedly destroyed our community. I mean, I did knock door to door. Everybody I met had nothing but bad thing about her and her organization. The city council is having a private meeting behind the people who elected them, and they were pissed about that. And I don't know how she engaged. Our community is more diverse than it was 2021 when I ran. I met people from walk of life when I met the LGBT community. You know what I mean? I met people on the front line fighting for, advocating for end of homelessness. I met people for supporting end of addiction homelessness. You know what I mean? So, and I don't think she's the last 4 years actually single-handedly destroyed our community.
Oops. That was not a very good review, but let's move forward. So, what solutions do you propose to address this affordable housing and homelessness in your ward, Abdul Hakim?
Like I said, I talked about it earlier. So, in order for us to deal with the crisis happening, homelessness and affordable housing, we need to work. Like I said, the city of Edmonton has the land. We have the land. We had the land for the last 6 years. It's abandoned. We have a lot of abandoned houses that we can build. This empty lots everywhere I go in my community. So in order for us to do, we need to work with partnership with the government of Alberta and the government of Canada, and we need the help from Danielle Smith and her organization.
Okay. What do you think can be done, Ashley?
Yeah, it's a great question. And as I mentioned, one of the most pressing in our communities right now. Housing affordability comes up at a lot of doors, whether it's the cost of home ownership or even the lack of affordable rental options within our neighborhoods. And my approach is a comprehensive one. So I always say housing is on a spectrum. We need to be investing in everything from sort of transitional supportive housing to subsidized housing and non-market housing, but also taking steps to increase housing supply. And that's what this council has been doing. We have seen a huge increase in the number of homes being built across the city of Edmonton. And in part, that's to keep up with demand because a lot of people are moving here. In the last 3 years, around 130,000 people moved to Edmonton. And if we don't keep up with that demand, we're going to see housing prices start to increase. So through some of the changes that we've made to our zoning bylaw, we're opening the door for more types of housing to be built within our neighborhoods. At the same time, I always say that the market alone will never solve the affordable housing crisis that we're seeing, which is why we need to continue investing into affordable and subsidized housing. Over the past 4 years, we've made record investments into affordable housing, close to $200 million, and thousands of new units being built. But the reality is the scale of the crisis that we're seeing demands action from all orders of government. So continued advocacy to our provincial partners and our federal partners that Edmonton is stepping up, and we need you there alongside us to help our communities.
So you're expecting an influx of funding from these two levels of government?
So what the city often does is we will put dollars aside to invest into affordable housing in order to leverage dollars from other orders. So when all three levels of government say this is a priority, we need to invest in this, the city is often that first mover by putting land and funding aside so that it is shovel ready, and that funding can flow into our communities. And that's deeply important. Just speaking a little bit about ensuring that land is available. One of the moves that this council made was to ensure that surplus school sites, extra land that isn't needed, are made available for affordable housing across the city. And I also look at opportunities like Blatchford, of course, as well as exhibition lands, which is right here in Ward Metis. So those larger underutilized sites, we need to put them to better use in order to increase that housing supply and ensure a degree of affordability is baked into those projects from the outset.
Okay. I think, Abdul Hakim, it's your microphone that's causing some noise here. So when I'm addressing a question to you, that's when you turn your microphone on. Yeah, see, now that sound is gone. So when I address a question to you, that's when you turn it on, because I won't be able to manage with that kind of noise. Okay, so the next question comes to you, Abdul Hakim. What solutions do you propose for issues related to community safety, crime prevention, other than the peace officers that you already mentioned, and building trust between residents and law enforcement?
Like I said, I believe in community policing, and then, like I said, I met a couple of police officers yesterday, and they were telling me how they're overloaded, that they're dealing with mental issue, they're dealing with crime when it comes to real estate stuff like that. So they want me as their if I'm get elected, they want me to ensure that the city of Edmonton can deal with homelessness, deal with addiction support, and that's what they need right now. Cops are their job is to react, not to deal with all these concern issues. So my plan is to end homelessness with housing, mental health, and addiction support.
I don't think you got the point. My question was specifically about safety, crime prevention, not about homelessness. It was about building trust between residents and law enforcement.
There, there is no relationship between the police. I mean, every person I met, they have certain issues with the Edmonton Police Service. I don't blame them. I don't trust the police. But we got to start building that as a community. We have to work together as a community. Our community and the police, we need to come up with a plan. I have most of the plan in my website. I'm not looking at it right now, but I think that's why it's important that we should work together to police to have a safer street.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything to add to that, Ashley?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, community safety and well-being is one of the top topics and concerns that I hear about when I'm out in Ward Metis. And what I always say is, no matter who you are or where you live in Edmonton, you deserve to be safe. And I know that people across our city are sharing that that's not necessarily a reality right now. So I'm hearing from community members that are seeing more petty theft, break-ins, as well as social disorder in their communities. And that really mirrors some of the trends that have been shared from EPS. Recently, they shared that we're seeing a decrease when it comes to violent crime, but we are seeing more of those challenges related to petty theft and break-ins and, people in desperate situations doing desperate things. And of course, there are much larger systemic issues here at play when it comes to the drug crisis. It has been an absolutely deadly year for folks who are in our communities and struggling with substance use. So when it comes to those kinds of issues, we need systemic solutions. We need more addictions treatment. We need the province to be stepping up and providing healthcare solutions. I would also say police are a critical part of our community safety ecosystem, but they are asked to be doing more and responding to more that are not necessarily police work. So again, responding to people in crisis, responding to people who are struggling with mental health issues. And that's why the city has also been investing in 24/7 crisis diversion to be able to provide an alternative for people to call if they see someone struggling in their neighborhoods. All that being said, though, City Council has been funding more resources than ever in public safety, about close to $115 million to fill funding gaps by other orders of government when it comes to the addictions crisis and the housing and homelessness crisis. The police budget has continued to increase. Again, crisis diversion is a big one. And when it comes to some of our public spaces like public transit, we've also increased the number of peace officers on transit by about 75%. And we're increasing outreach workers too. So this is a great program. It's called the COT teams, so the Community Outreach Transit Teams, where it's not just an enforcement-based approach. An outreach worker is paired with that so that they can connect people to supports and services that they might need.
Great. So something as basic as putting cameras in different places where, a crime is occurring, for example, to see who's the person, or to, if somebody's just doing a hit and run, or somebody's doing something really sneaky where you can't catch the person, if there is a camera. So has there been any investment into these kind of things which can help the council to really prevent crime?
I appreciate you. Was that to me?
Yeah, that was to you. Yes.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Absolutely. So especially in our public spaces, I think about our transit spaces in particular. Absolutely. There's been dollars set aside for things like cameras to ensure that those spaces are monitored. I would also say, I've been in a number of public town halls and community conversations about something called CEPTED, so crime prevention through environmental design And it's some of those steps that neighbors can start to take to deter that kind of activity. So whether it's having cameras or doorbell cameras or better lighting within our communities to deter that kind of behavior, that's also something that's a tangible step that I know communities are starting to take in order to have that kind of information. And I would also add, on a community level, when those types of things are happening, it's really important that people report to EPS as well, so that they have that information and data, because that can help inform where they're sending their resources and what kinds of patrols they're doing in what neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you. That's a more comprehensive answer that I was looking for. Abdul Hakim, can you turn on your mic? Okay, so I'm going to ask you about roads, public transit, and walkability in Ward Metis. Do you think it's appropriate? Do you think it needs more? How is the transit system working for you?
Well, first of all, we need where is it? So we need a stronger road infrastructure for today and tomorrow. Our roads are horrible. I drive motorcycle at night, and you have pots bigger than basketball. The transit system and the buses, forget about it. Too much crime. People tell me they don't feel safe taking the bus or taking the transit system. So we need to invest in our roads and infrastructure.
And do you see that happening in the next term, or what is your idea? Is that something that's an urgent need that will be prioritized?
That's one of my top vision on my campaign. We should be. I mean, if you look at our roads, and look at the bridges and everything like that. So we should focus on that. That should be a priority instead of having the bike lane, which spending $100 million on a bike lane. I think that's not priorities. The roads are more priorities. Better infrastructure. That's the more priorities for today and tomorrow. I don't know why we're spending $100 million on roads. That's not my on bike lane. That's just it's not part of my vision here in my list. So I think we need to invest.
Thank you. So Ashley, would you like to add something to that?
Absolutely. Of course, being able to maintain an effective and efficient network for transportation is critical. Everyone deserves to get around their communities safely, conveniently, and that includes everything from our roadways and the state of our infrastructure to bridges, our public transit system, buses, LRT, as well as our active pathways, so our sidewalks and bike infrastructure as well. When I think about the way that the city has grown over the last few decades, we've really spread ourselves thin. So Edmonton is a sprawling prairie city, and that means that we've built close to 11,000 lane kilometers of road network, and that's a lot to maintain. We see that in our winter months because our snow clearing gets spread thin, and we also see it in the quality of our roadways. I'm sure folks remember this spring in particular was quite bad for potholes, especially here in Ward Metis. And from my perspective, that's because we haven't adequately planned to set aside funding to maintain and renew our existing infrastructure. We've been quite focused on building sort of the new shiny projects, which are important, but we also need to just keep everything we've already got in good working order. And that's something that I championed on council. I was the councillor who really pushed to introduce a new dedicated renewal fund. And it takes about 10 years to build up, but that fund will make sure that we have a line of sight as to how we can maintain all of our roads. And it goes beyond roads. All of our city assets, our rec centers, our libraries, our pools, our park spaces that are so critical to the health of our neighborhoods. But of course, beyond our roadways, I think about the investment that we just saw in Ward Metis for the 50th Street grade separation. So there was a crossing where folks would get stuck behind a train for 10, 15, 20 minutes or longer, quite disruptive to industrial traffic too. So that bridge is now partially open, which is fantastic and helps keep traffic flowing in those areas. I would also say when it comes to public transit, that's a big gap. I'm a big believer in public transit. And I always say that Edmonton has chronically underfunded its public transit system. Again, we're asking a system that is stretched far and wide to deliver excellent and frequent and reliable service, but we're not actually adequately funding it. So that's been a big priority for me. We have added some service hours back to start to increase that. But one of the big gaps is having enough storage space for our buses. So in 2027, we have a brand new bus garage that's coming online that will allow us to increase that capacity.
Oh, cool. Nice to know. So, Abdul Hakim, is there something you'd like to add to the transit problem that you're having?
Not really. Like I said, a lot of people don't feel safe taking the LRT or the buses. There's no safety. We got a lot of women being assaulted, especially black women and black Muslim women. So that goes back to safety. And I believe that if we're having more peace officers or cameras, not going to do anything. We need to have people need to physically see the security or peace officers so they feel more safe.
Okay. So the question to you that I have that's coming up next is, how would you support local businesses and attract investment to boost employment opportunities in your ward? Because employment is at an all-time low in Edmonton right now. Doesn't matter which ward. So that could also be one of the reasons for petty crime and all of those things. So what do you think? How do you think you can support local businesses and attract investment to boost employment?
Well, I don't know if the city can do that. I mean, the city is $1.5 billion in debt, but I have not met the local businesses. But like I said, they talk about cost of rent is high. They talked about theft that's happening in the stores, the minimum wage. So in the city, unless the city come up with a plan to invest more on high tech stuff like that, I don't have any plan for that. The cities, we're already broke with $1.5 billion in debt. I don't know if we can help small business. Maybe we can work with license stuff like that.
Ashley, do you think you can add to this? How can we help local businesses to attract investment from bigger organizations or companies, and kind of give a boost to the employment in your sector, in your ward?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. The city has a critical role to play in protecting and growing our local economy and making sure that there are good paying jobs for people in our neighborhoods. One of the ways that we can do that is by supporting our main streets and our business associations. That's been such a rewarding experience for me over the last 4 years, is being able to work directly with some of the BIAs, the business improvement associations, to make meaningful changes. So, for example, we are funding additional cleaning and litter pickup, the addition of public washrooms in some of our business districts, working together to make sure that snow is plowed effectively in our winter months. But also earlier in the term, we actually provided a little bit of tax relief too as we were coming out of the pandemic, to make sure that those local business owners felt supported, and so that they could sustain the vibrancy that they bring to our neighborhoods. I would also say a big part of attracting and retaining employers to our neighborhoods is building a city where people want to live and where they can thrive, where they have good access to all the things we've talked about, good access to public transit, good park spaces, affordable housing, and all of those pillars that enable people to live a good quality of life. That's really what will keep people here and what will attract people to our city. I think about our arts and culture scene. That's an important part of our economy too. All of the festivals, all the artists who call Edmonton home. We need to continue funding our arts and culture scene to make sure that those people are supported as well, and that we all have those wonderful experiences that make Edmonton unique. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about Edmonton's economic action plan. So the city actually has an economic action plan that speaks to how we can attract more people and what steps we need to take. And a big part of that is industrial development. So Edmonton, unfortunately, has been losing out to the region. So all the surrounding municipalities have been taking on more industrial development than Edmonton has. So we need to be able to accelerate the permitting on industrial development. We need to make land available and ready for those larger companies who want to come to the region and will choose Edmonton. So we need to be competitive in reaching out and grabbing those opportunities.
Thank you. And do you see something like that happening in the near future?
Yeah, so some of the actions we've already taken. For example, we've invested in some of the infrastructure that would allow those businesses to more easily call Edmonton home. So investing in actually a large ramp that comes off of the highway so that there's easy access for those industrial parcels. And we've actually had some conversations about how to further incentivize those businesses to call Edmonton home. I would like to see us even go a little further and start having conversations about how we're working with our regional partners across the Edmonton metropolitan region to make sure that we are getting our fair share.
So, are there some prospective investors who are planning to move into Edmonton at this point? Do you have any leads?
So I'm aware of a handful, of larger companies that are looking around to see where they want to put down roots. But I look at even some of the larger companies. The one that's coming to mind is in the hydrogen space, who decided that Edmonton is where they were going to grow their company. And
Are you talking about Air Supply?
Air Products is one of the examples. That predates my time on council. But that's one of those larger industrial scale developments that Edmonton was able to move on and able to capitalize on. So looking for those types of opportunities to make it easy, convenient, and streamlined for businesses to come here.
Mm-hmm. So it doesn't look like there is something coming up immediately, like in the next 2 years or so, right? It's a work in progress.
We never know what exact opportunities might come up, but it's about being ready to capture those opportunities and making it the most attractive environment possible for businesses to choose Edmonton.
Perfect. Thank you, Ashley. Abdul Hakim, would you like to add to that about anything about economic development? Is there anything you want to say?
No, not really.
Okay, so the next question that goes to you is, how do you balance growth and development with all this infill building and everything that's happening right now? How do you protect the green spaces in your area? How do you protect the river valley? How do you protect the long-term environmental sustainability of Ward Metis?
So was that for me?
Yeah.
Hello. So we have a lot of abandoned houses in our community, like a lot of them. So doing the infill, it's already there. You know what I mean? Instead of building new units, which requires the well and stuff like that. So I believe that infill and abandoned houses should be. I'm okay with that. I'm not gonna argue with anybody saying we don't need infill. We do need infill. We have abandoned houses in all of our neighborhood. We need to get rid of it. So if we have to do infill, I'm okay with that.
Ashley, would you like to add to that? I'm
Sure.
actually trying to hit at environmental sustainability and protecting the green spaces that we have, because they are our lungs. They are our city's lungs. So if we want to breathe, we need to have them. So how do you plan to, protect these so that, the housing doesn't go into all of those spaces?
Yeah, you're absolutely right when it comes to protecting and maintaining those green spaces. It's vital for the health of our environment and our communities. I will absolutely answer that question, but I do just quickly want to touch on the abandoned and vacant buildings within our neighborhoods, since it's been brought up. That's an initiative that I never expected I would be working on. It wasn't in my platform when I ran in 2021, but very early on, I was hearing from communities about the toll these properties were taking on our neighborhoods. So having these vacant, derelict, and often hazardous buildings in our neighborhoods is causing harm. A lot of them were catching on fire and just wreaking havoc on the community. And that's why it was the first motion I made as a councillor to initiate work on a stronger approach to these problem properties. Since then, we've stood up a number of new teams. We actually have a new derelict tax subclass where we're charging 3 times the regular tax rate to these property owners, so they're held accountable and we've seen over 300 demolitions with new redevelopment on the way, and a 31% reduction in fires in those areas. So I just wanted to add that because it was relevant to the previous comments. But to your point around maintaining those green spaces and how do we balance new development and growth, when I think about the way Edmonton's grown historically, again, very sprawling, quite horizontal, and we're eating into very valuable farmland, natural areas, and agriculturally productive areas too. And that has a huge consequence for the health of our neighborhoods and our environment. So being able to grow in and up, not only does it save us money and is more fiscally responsible, it's more environmentally responsible as well. But at the same time, when we start to see new development happening in our neighborhoods, I often hear concerns about the loss of trees. And when infill is coming in, trees getting cut down, we need to work on a better way to protect and preserve those trees. We also need to make sure that the types of buildings that are being built are climate resilient so that the quality of the build is high and that we're not building buildings that are just going to cost people more money because they're so inefficient. So it needs to be a comprehensive conversation about how to build in a more sustainable manner.
So when you talk about these infills, don't you think it adds a lot of density and it causes problems like, sewer problems and parking issues and all of these things? Like, how do you deal with that?
That's a great question. And as someone who has always been supportive of the concept of infill, those are the types of questions that I've had to think a lot about. I will say that now that Edmonton has modernized its zoning bylaw, we're starting to see more density in more neighborhoods and different types of homes being built too. I've heard particular concern about the row houses that are going in mid-block next to, smaller single-family homes. And just based on that concern, it was one of the reasons I voted to try to moderate that a little bit and reduce the size, scale, and number of units. Of course, still being supportive of infill, but we need to do it in a way that's going to fit in with existing communities. So that's really critical. And when it comes to infrastructure capacity, like you mentioned, the sewer, water, and underground utilities, what always reassures me is that EPCOR does an assessment every time those developments happen to make sure that any necessary upgrades are done, and it's done at the developer's expense so that we're not having to pay for that. So that's one. Parking is another one that comes up quite often when I'm talking to community. And a lot of the projects we're seeing built have some parking built in, but the city is also going to have to look at other tools and look at how we manage our street side parking in areas where there's more congestion, more parking demand. I think we need to look at even things like parking permits to make sure that everybody's able to, use the space that they need and navigate their communities effectively.
Thank you. Next question goes to Abdul Hakim. With Edmonton facing a lot of budget pressures, how do you think we can prioritize spending on essential services that have been cut?
Yeah, sure. So let's start with the EPS budget one from $300 million to $556 million as we speak today. So if we take that budget and use that as to deal with addiction and community resource and all that stuff, we can help the EPS to deal with the crime they're supposed to do.
Very good. Ashley, would you like to add to that? Like, how do you, because Edmonton has had a lot of budget pressure, and as Abdul Hakim said, we are in debt. So the property taxes have gone up, but still people don't see their neighborhoods looking better, feeling better. Like, so how are we going to make sure that essential services are not going to be cut?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And you hit on a really important point there. And I hear it often from community members that we're not always feeling that we're seeing value for our tax dollars. Given the amount that we're paying, especially in mature neighborhoods like Ward Metis, people want to know that they're getting good services for the amount that they're paying. And right now, I don't think we're there yet. I think about some of those essential services, core city services like snow clearing, public transit, making sure our parks are maintained, that our libraries and rec centers have good hours, that emergency services are responsive and there when we need them. Those are the core city services that I think we need to refocus on. And I think we've started that work. We, over the 4-year term, actually saw about a $120 million reallocation towards those types of core priorities that Edmontonians expect to see. And what's really critical is when we're having those conversations, we're not losing sight of the city we're trying to build. I think it would be unfortunate at this time when people are looking for those services to see austerity and to start cutting those types of essentials. So that's really important to me. And I would also say, coming back to the point around value for tax dollars, because of the way Edmonton has grown, we are stretched thin, and we have about a $500 million annual gap in our infrastructure renewal budget. So we should be spending this much, but we're only spending this much. And that means the infrastructure quality that we're seeing in our neighborhoods is not really what people would expect. So that's why, again, I moved the work around the dedicated renewal fund to try to raise the bar on the quality of infrastructure and services we're seeing in our communities.
Have you seen significant improvement in essential services?
Yeah, so for example, we've increased the snow and ice budget by about 20%. We have started adding public transit hours back. Around 50,000 service hours have been added back to our system. And we've actually added another day for library hours so people can have better access to those city services. So I'm really proud that this council has started taking those steps in the right direction. So the foundation is there, but we have a lot further to go.
Perfect. Are these services being measured about use, and what is the percentage of use during the times that we have been keeping it open or whatever?
Yeah, so of course, city staff have that kind of information about usage and how people are using our city services and our facilities, and that absolutely can help inform these kinds of conversations. And I'll use public transit as an example. We know which routes get backed up, which are busy, have lots of people waiting for the bus, and are quite tightly packed. And that can help inform where we add those additional service hours so that people are getting more frequent, reliable, and convenient service.
Thank you. The next question goes to Abdul Hakim. What concrete steps will you take if you get into council to be connected and accountable to the residents of Ward Metis during your term?
So, Ward Metis needs a leadership that listens, who act and delivers. So that's when I come in. I mean, I'm engaged with the community. I met with a lot of community activists. I listen, and I hear their concern.
So you're saying that you will keep doing that during your term?
Absolutely. Like last time I saw Ashley was like 4 years. I think I saw her once. So she's not really engaged with the community. That's what we need. We need a new candidate who's out there. You can't have meetings behind of the people who elect you. So you have to involve everybody in that community, the city meeting, and you have to get involved with the community, get engaged, show up at events, and hear their concern.
Thank you so much. Would you like to tackle that question? What concrete steps would you take to stay connected and accountable? I think you answered a little bit in one of my previous questions, but if you would like to add to this, you're welcome.
Sure. Yeah, I'll elaborate a little bit from what I had already shared, but of course, making sure that I'm available when folks have questions, inquiries, or concerns about things that are happening in their neighborhoods is critical. And that comes in the form of having a responsive office, whether it's phone calls, emails, but it goes beyond that. It's about making yourself available in a community setting, going to where people are at, being able to take part in community meetings, town halls. I stay connected with a variety of community groups, whether it's our business associations or all the community leagues that I am honored to represent. getting around those tables so that you are on the ground to hear the concerns directly from the neighbors who are most effective is critical. And whether it is setting up a tent in a booth at Community League Day, which I've done throughout the term, setting up pop-up park hours within our neighborhoods, or even just showing up to a community concert. That's what I spent my last night doing. Is I was over on the south side of the ward. There was a beautiful event and just got to mingle with neighbors. So all of that is really important. And door knocking. I'm someone who likes door knocking, so I make sure to sprinkle it throughout the term, not just at election time.
Thank you. The question that I had for you was about a reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, especially the Métis community for whom the ward is named. How do you think it has been progressing over the last term, and has there been any progress?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. And absolutely, reconciliation is an important part of my current platform. It was part of my platform in 2021 as well. And really, it comes down to ensuring that we're taking intentional steps to build relationships with our Indigenous partners, whether it is putting funding towards Indigenous-led affordable housing, which this council has done, or taking part in ceremony. I've been so honored to be able to have those opportunities throughout my term on council to build connection, build relationships, and look at what tangible steps we can take as a city towards reconciliation. So we have something called the Indigenous Framework at the City of Edmonton. We also have the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Action Plan that the city is working through. So we absolutely are moving in the right direction. There's more work to be done. But one of the things I'm really pleased about is we have a fantastic team at the City of Edmonton through the Indigenous Relations Office who's dedicated to that work, and being able to support them and the continuation of this path towards reconciliation is vital.
Sure, thank you. The next question I have goes to Abdul Hakim. How would you work with your council colleagues to achieve win-win solutions to the existing problems in your ward? How would you manage conflict within council?
I think first step is to listen to each other, respect each other. I think that's the first step we got to do, and then hear everybody's concern, and then find out that we can address that. Like listen to each other, hear each other, not talking over each other, and show leadership.
Okay, Ashley, can you please elaborate a little bit about how it's been going for you over the last term?
Yeah. Well, I would share those points. I think being able to come to the table with an open mind and being ready and willing to hear those different perspectives, that's how we arrive at better decisions. And that's what I've really enjoyed about my time on council, and what I think we need to ensure going forward is that there are diverse voices around the council table that truly represent the diversity of Edmontonians. I think that being collaborative is critical to being an effective councillor, an effective leader of this city. And of course, there are going to be issues that people disagree on, but trying to find a good path forward and find those common interests, recognizing that we are all coming from a place where we want to build a stronger Edmonton for all of us is imperative. And I would say it extends beyond just council itself. It also extends to how we work with other orders of government. Trying to find those common interests and areas where we can push forward together is really important. But also having strong voices who can advocate for what we need. We've seen a number of cuts coming down from the provincial government that have not only landed at the doors of City Hall, but landed on the steps of folks in our community in the form of higher tax bills. So having voices who can champion the interests of Edmontonians, who are not afraid to stand up for what Edmonton needs, is also critical right now.
Thank you. I'm closing in towards the end of our interview. So the question that I have now is addressed to Ashley. If there is one thing you want to put as your biggest priority in your ward for the next term coming up, what would it be, and how would you achieve a solution to that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I know we talked about a number of priorities earlier on in the conversation and some of the concerns that have been coming up from community. But for me, it comes back to building a safe and healthy and connected community. That's the foundation of everything. And that's really important to me. So, continued investment in affordable housing, continued investment in strong city services that get people where they need to go, whether it's public transit, whether it's investments in infrastructure to make sure that our communities are well cared for. That's deeply important to me. And it's linked to getting to a more financially sustainable place too. The way we grow and where we invest our dollars, that's what's going to drive the future outcomes of our neighborhood. So going into the next term, obviously, we're going to be jumping right into budget soon after the election. And a city's values are found in its budget. So making sure that that budget is reflective of the priorities we're hearing from Edmontonians will be deeply important.
Right. So Abdul Hakim, the next question is to you. And for the next term that's coming up, if you get selected as a candidate from Ward Metis, what is the one thing that you really, really want for your ward, and you're going to keep it as top priority, and you're going to really work on it, and how are you planning to achieve that?
Can I say two things?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So the biggest one for us in our community is affordable housing. I met people knocking door to door. They're paying, I think, half of, or three-quarter of their paycheck is going toward rent. We have a lot of abandoned houses in our community. We have a lot of lots that we can use. So that'll be one of my priorities if I get elected. And second thing, we need to have inclusive emergency services. Our community is more diverse than ever, and then we should have police officers that reflect the community they serve. EPS, 80% EPS are Caucasian male, 100% Edmonton firefighters are Caucasian male. So we should have diverse police department that reflect the community that they serve, and that's one of my priorities. I was talking to the officer. He told me that a lot of communities are scared to report crime, and I was shocked when he told me today. He's like, he told me he's from Poland, and he said that Poland, the community, they work together. And he said here in Ward Métis, he said people are scared to report the crime, and I don't blame them. So we need to have a police that reflect the community they serve.
Such a good point. Thank you, Abdul Hakim. Now we are very close to closing our interview. So I have just this one question. Is there anything you want to say to the audiences of our interview today, Ashley? One last closing line.
Sure. Yeah. Well, this is our closing. I again just want to thank you, Mary, and the team at Ladies Corner for creating this opportunity for us to come together. It's always wonderful when we have these kinds of forums for civic engagement. Municipal government is so important, and I'm so deeply passionate about it. It's the things that affect your day-to-day life. When you step outside your door every morning, that's your municipal government at work. And I just want folks to know that I'm deeply committed to trying to build an Edmonton where everyday people can build extraordinary lives. That's what it comes back to for me. And I would also flag something that's new this election. And it's really important that people pay attention to it. Some people might have heard that the province has introduced political parties at the local level. And I'm not running with a party. So I'm running as just Ashley, your independent community candidate. And that's something that I'm quite passionate about. I don't think we need the kinds of party politics and divisiveness that we've seen at other levels here on the ground in our neighborhoods and around the council table. So that's something I've been very vocal about and will continue to champion.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that. Because that's the best thing about council politics. There is no parties involved. Okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and put this last question to Abdul Hakim as well.
Sure. Edmonton needs a leadership that listens, acts, and delivers. Together we can make Métis safer, stronger, and more affordable. Let's build Edmonton that we believe in. Together, let's vote for our voice, our community.
Thank you so much, both of you, for coming out to this interview. And, you know, small publications like Ladies Corner need the support of candidates who are in council. So we look forward to your support too when you get back into council, because we are really passionate about what we do. But sometimes we are not able to sustain it because of affordability. We're not able to afford the time and the space. So it's really important to get the support from the council. This is like a shameless pitch I'm making at this point, but just for your ears. And I truly believe that the leaders in the community will be concerned about, you know, who's really passionate about sharing information that's true. Thank you so much to both of you, and wishing you all the best for the elections.
Thanks so much, Mary. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much. Bye. See you.